Fucking hell, guys, it's fucking windy now. The topic of this video, guys, is going to be about cosmic indifference. This is going to touch on a little bit of existential nihilism, all these like fun things that I like to talk about on my YouTube channel. Cosmic indifference, guys, that's the topic of this video. I really wanted to get into this, man. I wanted to get into this for quite a while, talk about cosmic indifference. Man, the wind is fucking howling, man, I swear. I feel the wind fucking hitting me, man. It's fucking howling, man, I swear. But the topic of this video, guys, is going to be about cosmic indifference. I really wanted to just get touch. This is going to relate to existential nihilism. Basically, I'm just going to talk about how the universe doesn't really give a fuck about you. Get it? Cosmic indifference. What do those two words mean? Cosmic as in the universe, indifference as in doesn't care. The universe doesn't give a fuck about you, guys. That's the topic of this video. Now, like when we're like very, very young, it almost feels like the whole world is revolving around you as a singular human being and person. It does actually feel like the world sort of revolves around you in some ways, isn't it? You feel like you're like the main character of your own story and everything relates to you in some way and stuff. And the universe is like all like it's caring about you and the world revolves around you. Sometimes, especially if you're young, you're gonna feel this like this is the truth. You're gonna feel like the world almost kind of like revolves around you in some ways. Actually, guys, I'm here to tell you guys that's not really the case. The whole topic of this video, guys, is going to be about cosmic indifference. Basically, the universe doesn't give a fuck about you. It's just a big fat fucking... The universe doesn't give a fuck about you, guys. That's the topic of this video. That the universe doesn't really give two shits about what you do and what you're up to or any of that. If whether or not you're alive or you die or something like that. The universe doesn't give a fuck about you, man. That's the topic of this video. So this is gonna be like so interesting. Obviously, existential nihilism, that's what it's gonna be touching on. It's such a fucking fascinating video topic idea and whatever and stuff like that. Yeah, but the cosmic indifference, I have to start with, like, especially when we're young, it almost does feel like, guys, that the whole world is like revolving around you as a singular person. It almost feels like everything you do is like of such a great importance that the universe cares, the world cares, everything just revolves around you as a singular person. Actually, guys, as you get older, you start to realize that this is just fucking nonsense. That nobody gives two shits about what you're up to or what you're doing. Even, yeah, really, unless you're super famous, even then people don't really care about you. Like, do a lot of you care about what Justin Bieber does in his house? Not really. Maybe perhaps some of you might, but I don't know. Or like any other type of famous celebrity person. Especially when you're young, it almost does feel like the whole world is like so cares about you so much, cares about everything that you do. The whole world is revolving around you as a person. But guys, in actuality, it's not. That's not really the case, is it? Because the truth is, guys, that nobody gives a fuck about you. The world doesn't give a fuck about you. The universe doesn't give a fuck about you. No, you're just like this total, like, complete indifference, man. It's like, it's so, especially when you get older, you start to notice that nobody really gives a fuck about what you're up to and what you're doing and what you're about and who you are as a person. Nobody cares. The older you get, the more you realize this and stuff. It's only when you're young, maybe perhaps you're in school or something, you feel like people and the world and the universe cares about you as a person, as a human being. It's so fucking stupid to me, guys. You gotta knock this out of your head, right? This horrible mindset and mentality that the world revolves around you and like the whole universe is like so like concerned about what you're doing. When in actuality, guys, the universe, the world, everything about this planet, everything in existence doesn't give a fuck about you. You're so like we're so fucking mean. Everything we do is so fucking it's so ludicrous because it's just so like pointless in the end, because the universe doesn't care, the world doesn't care what you're doing. Fucking hell, you could be fucking doing some weird shit. You could be doing nasty things to a dog that I don't want to talk about. I don't want this video to get fucking you know, but you know what I mean. You know, like when you use your pee-pee to do stuff. Imagine you doing that with a dog. No, even the world's not going to care about that. The universe isn't going to care about that. It's so fucking insane to me, man. It's so fucking insane that we almost feel like there's like a fucking... It almost feels like there's a spotlight on us, man. The wind is fucking so fucking annoying, man. I'm trying to make a fucking video and the wind's fucking about. Fucking hell. The wind is so fucking infuriating. I have no idea. It's like, I don't know where all this wind comes from. It's so, especially in England, I don't know where it's coming from. Does it come from like, I don't know. Does anyone know why wind is like a thing? Any type of like scientist that knows about this or weather expert? Where does wind come from anyway? But cosmic indifference, that's the topic of this video, guys. Basically, the universe doesn't give a fuck about you. The world doesn't give a fuck about you. The majority of human beings don't give a fuck about you. You have to come terms with this like reality. It's so difficult to come to terms with this that we're very fucking worthless. It's kind of funny, man, that we're very, very fucking worthless and all that. We're very fucking worthless. We're not, everything we do is like so, it's so irrelevant in the grand scheme of things. Everything we do is so fucking pointless. It's all like fucking nonsense, basically. We don't really, everything we do is like fucking so pointless, guys. The universe doesn't care, the world doesn't fucking care. You could be doing stuff to a dog that I don't want to really specify. I don't like, you could be, you know, any other type of weird shit. You could be doing some weird nasty things in your house, in your backyard, in your garden. Nobody gives a fuck, man. The universe doesn't give a fuck. The world doesn't give a fuck. It doesn't matter what you're doing right now in the world. Nobody gives a fuck, man. It's so insane to me. You know, you always feel like there's like everything we do is like of such great importance. Like the world revolves around us as human beings. Everything revolves around us. That is the mindset, the mentality that, especially if you're a young person, it almost just feel like that the world slowly is sort of does revolve around you. The universe revolves around you. Everything's just like you're like the center of the universe, the center of everything, and everything kind of rotates around you. But this is not the case, guys. This is like a horrible mindset. It's like a dumbass mentality. This mindset, this mentality is, especially if you're a young person, this is what you're going to feel like is true, right? That everything kind of, you're like the center of everything to some extent, and everything kind of rotates around you, and you're like fucking God. Everybody is like, just everything is about you. Everything relates to you. You're just a fucking God. I don't know, guys. But this is fucking nonsense. This is so obviously nonsense, man. Because you can obviously, because you know, like if you died tomorrow, nobody would fucking give a shit. Maybe your family and your friends, but like that's like such a small group of people. Most people, the majority of human beings won't give a fuck. The universe won't give a fuck. The world doesn't give a fuck. You know, if you get like any type of injury on your body, you lose a hand or whatever, you might get sick. The world doesn't. It's not like you see in the sky that the world wants you to get better or anything like that. It's not like you see. The universe, the world, everything's just so like such a cold fucking indifference, man. It doesn't matter what you do. It's like, especially when you get older, you feel this fucking it's like fucking this sad, like this cold indifference. Everything just, the world, it almost feels like you're just like a ghost. You're not even fucking real. Like nobody really looks at you for too much when you're old. As you get older, nobody fucking cares about you too much. It's so weird, man. It's such a bizarre thing to me, man. Especially only when you're young, you get this delusional mindset that you're the center of everything, because obviously your parents cater to you. It's because you, like when you're young, you get put through school, and it does feel like everything you do is like very important. But as you get older, guys, I'm telling you, it's gonna hit you that you're not the fucking center of the universe. You're not the center of the world. The world is like so cold and indifferent towards you. It's fucking it's insane to me. It's so insane, guys. Especially when you're young, it almost does feel like you're the fucking center of the universe. But as you get older, you start to realize, oh wait, nobody gives a fuck about me. The universe doesn't give a shit. The world doesn't give a shit. I'm not the center of anything. I'm so fucking worthless. I don't. This is like a very sad, pessimistic, nihilistic video. But it's kind of, you have to come to terms with it. Total fucking cosmic indifference. What do I mean by this? Like the world doesn't give a fuck about you. The universe doesn't give a fuck about you. Man, you could be doing, like, you could be getting fucking, you could be getting, like, fucking, like, murdered. You could be getting skinned alive. The fucking world, the universe is not going to give a shit. It's so insane. Think about this so carefully. The worst of the worst could happen to you as a human being. And the world, and the whole world, the universe is not going to give a fuck. Maybe some people might care, and, I don't know, other than, like, a small group of people, nobody's going to give a shit. That's so insane to think about this, guys. The worst of the worst could be happening to you. You could be getting fucking, violently raped. You could be getting fucking, like, skinned alive. Anything could be happening to you. The worst of the worst. And nobody's going to give a fuck, man. Nobody truly is going to even, like, shed. No, maybe some people in your immediate, like, family and stuff and friends circle, but the whole regarding like the universe in general and like the world, like nobody gives a fuck. Like the universe doesn't give a shit. The world doesn't give a shit. You could be fucking getting skinned alive, raped. You could be getting violently raped. Nobody's gonna care. Most of us aren't. The majority of us, like human beings, aren't gonna care. It's like so fucking. The universe isn't gonna give a shit. The world isn't gonna give a shit. It's fucking. This is so, like, once you think about this so carefully, it's so fucked up, man. Like, we like, the universe and everything about our world, it's, like, so, like, cruel, it's so ferocious and ruthless. There's, like, so many people on our planet, they die of fucking cancer. There's some, like, diseased little kids die of hunger in some poor third world countries. But the world doesn't give a fuck. The universe doesn't give a shit. So fucked up, man. It's such a fucked up world. But you have to come to terms with it, though. You can't fucking be a delusional retard. Maybe I should turn around like this. You have to come to terms with this, guys. It's so fucked up, man, in so many different types of ways. The universe doesn't give a fuck, the world doesn't give a fuck. Like, there's like kids that die of fucking, there's literally like kids that starve to death in fucking, in Africa and all that, and nobody, the world doesn't give a fuck, the universe doesn't give a fuck, and all that shit. And there's people that die of cancer and nobody gives a fuck. Maybe some doctors and like family and friends, but like, it's such a fucked up world, man. Cosmic indifference. You could be getting fucking violently raped, skinned alive. The worst of the worst could happen to you as a human being, and no one's gonna give a fuck. Nobody. The universe isn't gonna shed a tear, the world isn't gonna shed a tear. This cosmic indifference, this like total like fucking existential dread, this like existential nihilism, man. It can really make you like want to put a bullet in your head. But it's such a fucked up world, guys. But I really do like highlighting it in my videos. Is it fucking raining? Oh shit. The worst of the worst could be happening to you. You could be fucking getting violently raped. You could be getting skinned alive. The universe isn't going to shed a tear. The world isn't going to shed a tear. Maybe perhaps your family and friends might care, but other than that, most human beings aren't going to give a fuck about you. That's so fucked up. You have to understand it. My videos, but I do care about you. If you're watching my videos, I want to fucking enlighten you about this fucked up world that we live in. And I do want to encourage you to take all the right precautions to make sure you look after yourself, because I actually do care about you. Maybe not actually, that's a little bit too emotional, but if you're watching my videos, I do actually try and like give you as much like knowledge and wisdom as I possibly can from my own brain. But cosmic indifference, guys, this is like such a horrifying existential, it touches on existential nihilism. It's such a fucked up world, guys. There's people that fucking violently raped. You could be getting skinned alive. The worst of the worst could happen to you, guys, and the universe isn't going to shed a tear. The world is not going to give a fuck. Most human beings aren't going to give a fuck at all. It's fucking quite insane, man. It's like such a fucked up world, but you have to just fucking live in it and stuff. It's kind of, it's quite it's a little bit funny as well, man. It's a little bit funny as well, man. It's like funny in a very dark, it's like a very dark form of humor. Hey, that you could be getting violently raped in the universe, the world's not going to give a shit. It's kind of funny, man. But cosmic indifference is like such an important, like in terms of like not just philosophy, but in terms of like enlightenment. You have to come to terms with this, guys, that the universe, the world doesn't give a fuck about you, that you're not at the center of anything. You're like a fucking, you're so like us singular individual human beings, we are so fucking worthless. Like, you could, and the worst of the worst could be happening to you in the universe. The world's not going to shed a tear. Nobody's going to give a fuck, really, guys. Maybe your family and friends, but most people and like the universe and the world's not going to give a shit about you, man. You have to think about this so carefully. Cosmic indifference, it's like the world, the universe doesn't give a fuck about us, man. It's so sad as well. You again, violently raped, skinned alive, whatever. The worst of the worst could be happening to you, man. No one's gonna, the world's not gonna give a fuck. The universe is not gonna give a fuck. It's like such a cruel, fucked up, dark world that we live in. But it's like fucked up, man. It's just how it is, though. You can't fucking do anything, is it, about this, innit? Cosmic indifference, guys, and you could literally think about this. You could be getting anally raped, violently raped, skinned alive. Nobody's gonna bat an eyelid. Most people are just gonna like not even give a fuck. I actually do think that I think there was like so many different cases of this, like where someone's getting like abused, and like a lot of people just turn a blind eye, and that's like so sad. The universe, the world's like that as well. The world, you could be getting fucking, you could be in so much fucking pain, guys. Believe me, you could be like suffering, like fucking in so much intense pain, whatever. No one's gonna give a fuck. No, the universe and everything like that's not gonna give a shit. Nobody's gonna give a fuck about your pain and suffering. That's so fucked up, man. Like, I swear, you could be getting violently raped, skinned alive. The worst of the worst could be happening to you. No one's gonna give a fuck. It's so funny, though. Cosmic indifference, but this is like one of like the most important stepping stones towards enlightenment, guys. In order to become enlightened, you must fucking understand, guys, that you're not the center of the universe, the world. We're not fucking important, guys. The world doesn't give a fuck if you get raped or skinned alive. The universe doesn't give a fuck. Nobody gives a fuck about your pain and suffering. That's so insane. And that's just how it is. That the world is like so fucked up and sad and depressing. I wonder why it's like that, though. It's kind of very funny, though, but it's just how it fucking is. The world is like so fucking it's so fucked up and sad and depressing. Obviously, us human beings, we try and make things a lot better. We try and take away a lot of the suffering and pain, but still there's so much fucking suffering and pain. But that's not really even the point of this video. The point of this video is like cosmic indifference. Yes, there's suffering and pain, but the universe doesn't really give a fuck. The world doesn't give a fuck. Most people don't give a fuck. It's so fucked up. I keep saying the word fuck a lot. I like saying that, though, but Cosmic indifference is fucking, it's such a sad, fucked up world, but I mean, you can't do too much about it, but all you can do is like be like very cautious, prepared, have a good head on your shoulders, make sure you look after yourself. Yeah, but still, the world, if you get violently raped, the world's not going to give a fuck, the universe doesn't give a fuck. You get skinned alive, no one's going to care, no one's going to shed a tear. It's on you guys. That's why I really I'm making these videos to help you out. You have to fucking like be so careful about yourself and make sure you got a good head on your shoulders, make sure you look after yourself, because the world's not going to give a fuck if you're like suffering and fucking in a tremendous amount of pain. The universe isn't going to give a fuck. Most human beings aren't going to give a fuck. So it's always on you to take care of yourself. Always look after yourself. I always like encourage that, guys, that you actually, what does that actually mean to look after yourself? Make sure you do the right things to yourself, you eat the right foods, you stay healthy, go to sleep, make sure you lock your windows and doors at night so someone doesn't come in and rape you. But cosmic indifference, guys, the world, the universe doesn't give a fuck about you. It's such a difficult thing to come to terms with, that you could be getting fucking skinned alive, violently raped. So many, like, especially, man, it's such a fucked up world, man. Like, think about our history, think about the amount of women and men and children that have been getting violently raped all throughout our history. The universe didn't give a fuck. The universe didn't give a fuck. The world doesn't give a fuck. Most people back then didn't give a fuck. It's like such a fucked up world. But it's always on you guys to look after yourselves and to fucking have a good head on your shoulders. Because like fucking hell, the world's not gonna come looking. The world's not gonna give a shit if you're fucking dying of thirst or hunger. The world's not gonna give a fuck if you're getting violently raped or skinned alive. Man, this world is like so fucked up, man. I swear, I always have to like stress this in my videos, that we live in like a very quite fucked up world indeed. That you could be getting fucking violently raped and skinned alive. No one's gonna fucking give a shit. Maybe your family and friends, but like the world's not gonna give a shit. The universe is not gonna give a shit. Maybe even you might believe in God, but even, you know, but God is allowing you to get raped to begin with. So I don't know. I don't want to get into that too much. I don't want to get to like theology in this video, but cosmic indifference, guys, it's such a fucked up world that you could be getting the worst of the worst could be happening to you, and the universe is not going to give a shit. The world's not going to give a shit. This is like a very like fucking horrifying form of like existential nihilism, like a very sad, depressing, like you know, nihilism in general. It's like fucking, and I always mention that in my videos. It's such a fucking horrifying concept, though. I do get like a little bit of like shivers down my spine when I talk about it as well. It's like but anyway, but cosmic indifference, it's like such a, it's like, we live in a very fucked up world, but it's like you can't do too much about it, and you have to just like deal with it. And it's like, I don't know, and it's what's very funny is that the worst of the worst could be happening to you, and like no one's gonna care. Most people aren't gonna care. The universe is not gonna care. The world's not gonna care. It's always on you though to look after yourself. But you know, cosmic indifference, guys, really, I want to try and drill this into your head, is that we're not that fucking special, man. I swear. It does feel like us human, we always like to think of ourselves as being at the center of the universe, when that's not really true at all. We're not the fucking center of the universe. We're like so fucking we're not that fucking important or special. It's like we're like so insignificant and irrelevant. Really, it's kind of fucking it's so like horrifying to think about this, how fucking insignificant, irrelevant we are. You know what's like 99%, like there's like this type of statistic that a lot of scientists believe in, that most life on Earth has been wiped out, extinct. So 99.9% of all like life forms on planet Earth have been like just they became extinct. They suffered from extinction events and they have been wiped out, and they don't no longer exist. You know, as human beings, we've only been around for a couple million, 1,000 years, 100 years. You know, who knows, man? I think we aren't going to make it. I think we're just going to be a part of that statistic. We're just going to become extinct, and the universe, the world's not going to give a shit. It's such a fucked up world, man. It's so fucked up and insane. Like, think about like all the fucking starving kids and all that shit. I know that's very cliche. It's so cliche. You see like on these like television adverts, like you see like some dead like African kid that's all like skinny and emaciated and shit. It's like a very cliche thing, but it's like, man, that's just the world we live in, man. It's like fucked up. It's like, even though the idea when these types of things, like when I talk about it, it is kind of becoming a little bit like almost like a comedy now, isn't it? Which is like a little bit, is that really appropriate? I don't know. Such a fucked up world, man, and you can't do anything about it. It's like the worst of the worst could be happening to you, and the universe is not going to shed a tear. The world's not going to shed a tear. Family and friends might care, but like they're like such a small group of people. Most human beings are not going to give a fuck about your pain and suffering. That's so fucked up. That's just how it is. You have to come to terms with it, guys. You cannot fucking escape this fucked up world and this like horrible reality. Cosmic indifference. Like, this is like I always get like shivers down my spine when I talk about existential nihilism. Like anything to do with nihilism is fucking, it really like fucking breaks the human psyche in part. It always like fucking, it really does make us seem so fucking worthless. Everything we do is like so fucking insignificant compared to the universe and the world and everything like that. It's like world's like so fucked up. It's kind of, I always like laughing about it though. It's like a very funny thing to think about, that you could be getting like fucking violently raped. The universe isn't going to care. World's not going to care. Most people aren't going to care. Maybe your family and friends might, but even they probably going to forget about it in the end. It's kind of funny though. It's not very funny, but cosmic indifference, like existential nihilism in general, is like such a fucking it really breaks the human psyche. I mean, fucking hell, it's like very difficult to come to terms with it, come to fucking terms with existential nihilism, and fucking hell. But the topic of this video is fucking, it's about you know, cosmic indifference. Fucking, you could be getting violently raped, skinned alive. The worst of the worst could be happening to you as a human being. Universe isn't going to give a fuck. The world's not going to give a fuck. Most people aren't going to give a fuck. It's so like, you're so insignificant as a singular human being, as a person, compared to everything in this world and this reality. It's like very funny. It's so funny, and fucked up. But hopefully you get a good head on your shoulders, and hopefully the point of this video is not to make you depressed and sad and maybe nihilistic. I'm trying to really to help you out, guys, to make sure that you look after yourself, guys, because nobody else is going to give a shit. Always look after yourself, because nobody else is going to give a fuck. Nobody else is going to give a fuck. So the world's not going to come and hold you. The world's not going to care about you. The universe isn't going to care about you. If you suffer from any type of issues, it's always on you to fix your own problems, I guess. I don't know. But cosmic indifference, you could be getting violently raped. You could be getting skinned alive. The worst of the worst could be happening to you, and nobody's going to give a fucking shit. The world's not going to give a shit. The universe isn't going to give a shit. This fucking whole world's not going to fucking care. It's like such a fucked up world, but I don't know. You can't do too much about it, can you? It's so funny though. If you think about it, it's like a big fat joke. It is sort of almost like a dark comedy. I always like to think of it as like a dark comedy. Now again, you could be getting violently raped and skinned alive, and nobody's going to give a shit. The universe isn't going to give a fuck. The world's not going to give a fuck. Maybe your family and friends might give a fuck, but they're going to forget in like 6 months anyway, so it's like a dark comedy, but you gotta come to terms with it, man. I swear. It's so funny though, but it's like a very dark comedy, isn't it? It's such a fucked up world. Still, it's like a dark comedy though. You should always laugh about these kinds of things. I don't know. It is like a dark comedy. I think that's like very appropriate. That's the best way to think about this. Like, it's everything about our world's like a dark comedy, and you gotta just fucking embrace that, I guess. I don't know. It's like a dark comedy, cosmic indifference. Think about this so carefully, that you could be getting fucking violently raped, skinned alive. The worst of the worst could be happening to you guys. The universe isn't going to give a fuck. The world's not going to give a fuck. Nobody's going to give a fuck. It's so funny to think about that. It's like it really is like a dark comedy. Everything about our world's like a dark comedy. It's like so funny. And there's nothing you can do to change this. Nothing you can do to change this. It's so funny. It's like a very dark, sad, fucked up world, but it's like nothing you can do to change this. You're probably not going to be able, like, the universe doesn't give a fuck. If you're suffering fucking of whatever, dying, having all these issues with your body and your health, the universe is not going to give a fuck. The world's not going to give a fuck. No one's going to come and rescue you. You're going to be fucking left to fucking suffer on your own. It's funny. Even if you have family and friends, maybe perhaps they might care. That's the good thing about us human beings. We always have like family, friends. We especially people that are within your own like friend circle. We always tend to look after ourselves, which is very admirable. But still, the universe, if you're fucking suffering and dying, the universe is not going to give a fuck. World's not going to give a fuck. Most people aren't going to give a fuck about you. Cosmic indifference, that's the topic of this video, guys. Basically what I'm saying is the universe doesn't give a fuck about you. The world doesn't give a fuck about you. Most people don't give a fuck about you, and you have to come to terms with this. Like, you're not the center of the universe. You don't have a spotlight on you. You're not that important or special. You must come to terms with this. It's like one of the most important stepping stones towards fucking enlightenment. Always gotta make sure, look behind me so no one's gonna come and bang my head up or anything like that. You must fucking come to terms with this, guys, that you're not that fucking special or important or whatever you want to call it. The world, you could be getting violently raped, fucking skinned alive. The worst of the worst could be happening to you as a human being, and no one's gonna fucking care. The world's not gonna give a shit. Most people aren't gonna give a shit. The universe isn't gonna give a shit. Man, I fucking hell. It's so fucked up. I can't stop laughing, man. Can't stop thinking about how funny it is though. It's like a very dark comedy, isn't it? It's like a dark, fucked up, it's like a comedy in some way. It's like a fucking funny, like, comedy and joke to me, man, I swear. Cosmic indifference, like this whole, really, everything I'm saying right now, it kind of does touch on existential nihilism, and you have to come to terms with that, and you have to come to terms with the fact that the universe doesn't give a fuck about you, or the world doesn't give a fuck about you. Most people don't give a fuck about you. You gotta come to terms with this, guys. It's such an important stepping stone towards some fucking enlightenment. The worst of the worst could be happening to you. You could be getting fucking violently raped, skinned alive, whatever, and no one's gonna fucking come to your rescue. The world's not gonna give a shit. The fucking universe isn't gonna give a shit anyway. Such a fucked up world. It's so funny to me though. It's like a very dark comedy, isn't that? Isn't everything about our world like a dark comedy? It's very, very funny indeed. But there's nothing you can do about this. It's not like you can fix these fucked up, all these like fucked up problems in our world. I don't know. Do you even really want? Should we even really fix these fucked up problems? Again, it's like a dark comedy. Where are we going to get our laugh? I mean, okay, maybe a lot of you might say that's not very nice, is it? But I mean, dark comedy is very. I guess that's important. I don't know. The world's like so fucked up. The universe is. You could be getting fucked up. You could be getting violently raped. You could be getting skinned alive. The universe is not going to give a fuck. The world's not going to give a fuck. Most people aren't going to give a fuck. That's so funny to me. It's like a dark comedy. But hopefully I am kind of... Really, the point of this video is that you really got to look after yourself, guys. The world's not going to come and save you. The universe is not going to save you. Most people aren't going to come to your rescue. It's always on you to look after yourself, to make sure you have a good head on your shoulders. Always look after yourself, guys. No one else is going to come and rescue you. Maybe family and friends, but they're very few and far between. They're very small in numbers. Most people don't give a fuck about you. The universe doesn't give a fuck about you. The world doesn't give a fuck about you. Maybe I do give a fuck about you. If you're watching my videos, I do like care about you to some extent. I do want to impart my wisdom and knowledge onto you so you can be better off in so many different types of ways. But guys, really think about this, man. You could be getting violently raped, skinned alive. No one's gonna give a fuck. Fucking hell. Fucking funny, isn't it? It's like a dark comedy, isn't it, man? That you could be getting fucking violently raped, skinned alive, whatever. The worst of the worst could be happening to you as a human being, and no one's gonna give a fuck. The universe isn't gonna give a fuck. The world's not gonna give a fuck. Most people aren't gonna give a fuck. Maybe your immediate family and friends might care, but even they're gonna not really. In 6 months they probably might forget anyway. Cosmic indifference, it's fucking very deep, like horrifying, like whole thing about like existential nihilism. Nihilism in general is fucking insane to think about. It's like very depressing and sad, but this whole world's like fucked up in so many different types of ways, and there's really not a lot you can do about it. Not really a lot you can do about it at all. That's just life, isn't it? Everything's fucked up, but you can't really do too much about anything. Existential nihilism is so fucking horrifying, man. There's nothing you can do about it. The world's like so fucked up, man. You can't really fucking do anything about it, can you though? It's like a dark comedy. It's like a fucking dark comedy. You could be getting fucking violently raped, skinned alive, whatever you want to call it. The worst of the worst could be happening to you as a human being, and the universe, the world's not going to care. Most people aren't going to care. That's just the fucking sad truth, isn't it? The sad reality that you're not the fucking center of the universe. Most people aren't going to come to your rescue and to come to save you. Maybe your family and friends might, but they're like very few and far between. They're very small in number. Always on you guys to look after yourselves, guys. All right, I encourage you guys to think about your own lives very carefully and deeply, and like always think about yourself and always be your own like savior. That's like a good little thing to have in mind. Learn how to become your own savior. That is so important. Don't wait for someone else to come and rescue you, guys. Always learn how to become your own savior, your own, like the person who rescues himself and his own like will and issues. You must become your own savior. It's so important, guys. Nobody else is gonna come to the rescue, come and rescue you. Oh, it's fucking the world's fucked up, but that's just how it is. It's like a dark comedy, and you just have to kind of like navigate this world in the best way you can. It's quite funny though. It's so funny and sad though. So many, especially regarding like poor third world countries, all the kids getting fucking starving and sold into slavery, and the universe doesn't give a fuck, the world doesn't give a fuck. A lot of us, we try and help, but like even most people don't give a fuck. It's like such a fucked up, sad world. But not a lot we can do, can we? Not a lot we can do at all. Such a sad, fucked up world, but you can't do anything about it. Anyway, back to, keep going on these like very depressing, fucked up, sad side tangents, but I want to get back to the topic of the fucking video. I wonder how many times I said fuck in this video. Sorry, so I have to say something to like fill the conversation, you know what I mean, to get your attention. I don't know, but you know, like fucking, oh fucking, I keep seeing, yeah, cosmic indifference. The universe doesn't give a fuck about you. World doesn't give a fuck about you. You could be getting fucking violently molested and raped, skinned alive. No one's gonna come to the rescue. The world's not gonna shed a tear. The universe isn't gonna shed a tear. The whole world is like so dark in so many different ways. So like everything's like so like fucked up, and there's nothing you can do. Nothing you can do about this at all. All you can do is like fucking... No, actually, all you can do is like really think about how you're gonna like look after yourself in your own life. How are you gonna look after yourself? Take care. You have to learn how to become your own savior. That's so important, guys. I always encourage that type of mindset, mentality. You must learn how to become your own savior, because if you suffer in any type of way, the world's not going to give a fuck. The universe isn't going to give a fuck. Most people aren't going to give a fuck about your pain and suffering. Always on you to become your own savior and to look after yourself. Cosmic indifference, like this, like very fucking dark, fucked up, like form of like existential nihilism. That it doesn't matter what happens to you, no one's really going to care in the long run. The universe isn't going to care. The world doesn't care. You're not the center of the universe. You're so like, you're like an ant. That's how insignificant you are. You're like a tiny microbe. You're like a bacteria. Like compared to like the rest of the universe, we're like so like small and insignificant. Like it's so fucked up to think about that. This whole like thing about like fucking existential nihilism and fucking cosmic indifference, and how we're not the fucking center of the universe. It's like so fucking sad. It's insane. It's so like, I mean, what can he really fucking do about this? I've been saying fuck so many different times in this video. I have to fill the conversation, though. I have to get your attention. I don't know. That's kind of a little bit not really that relevant man. It's really, I mean, it suits this video though. Cosmic indifference. The world doesn't give a fuck about you. Universe doesn't give a fuck about you. You could be getting fucking violently, anally raped and sodomized. No one's gonna come to your rescue. You could be getting skinned alive. No one's gonna come to your rescue. The worst of the worst could be happening to you. No one's gonna come to your rescue. Such a dark world. It's like a dark, everything about our universe and world is like a dark comedy. Everything is like such a dark, fucked up comedy. We're like the fucking, I mean, but it's not funny when we have to suffer and die, though, is it? But yeah, it really is. Everything's like a dark comedy in our world. But not a lot you can do about it. Really, there's not much that you can do to fix these fucked up issues. But still, cosmic indifference, guys. You could be getting fucked. Like, the worst of the worst could be happening to you. The universe is not going to care. World's not going to care. Again, I'll bring it back all the way to the beginning of the video. I said that when we're young, it always feels like we're very special and important. We're the center of the universe. But, you know, obviously, as you get older, you tend to like realize that this is just all a bunch of nonsense. That we're not the center of the universe, guys. The universe doesn't really give a fuck about you. The world doesn't give a fuck about you. Most people don't give a fuck about you. We're so like singular individuals. We're like so worthless. We're like ants we're like ants and bacteria and microbes. We're not that special at all. We're so like, it's so sad. Our existence is so like pathetic. It's funny though. Again, a dark comedy. Our world, everything about our world's like a dark comedy. But you know, everything about us as human beings is so like sad. Everything we do is like so fucking insignificant and sad and fucked up. It's so fucking insane. It's so fucking sad and insane to think about this. I don't know, dark comedy, guys. Fucking hell, wind. Is that the world trying to give me some sort of sign? I don't know. Fucking wind just hit me, man. Yeah, cosmic indifference. Doesn't matter what you do, the world doesn't give a fuck, the universe doesn't give a fuck, most people don't give a fuck. You could be getting violently raped, molested, whatever. The worst of the worst could be happening to you. No one's gonna come to your rescue. The world's not gonna give a fuck. The universe isn't gonna give a fuck. Most people aren't gonna give a fuck. Always on you guys to be your own savior, to look after yourself. It's so funny. It's like a dark comedy, man. It's like a dark comedy. It's like a dark comedy, isn't it? That the worst of the worst could be happening to you, and no one's gonna care, and the world's not gonna care. Most human beings aren't gonna care. That's just life, isn't it? You gotta come to terms with this, the fucking cosmic indifference. The worst of the worst could be happening to you, and no one's gonna come to the rescue. The world's not gonna give a fuck. Again, when we're young, it feels like we're very special and important. We're the center of the universe, because I'm telling you, as you get older, you're gonna realize this is all bullshit, that nobody really gives a fuck about you. The world doesn't give a fuck about you. The universe doesn't give a fuck about you. Cosmic indifference is so important, man. This whole concept, it's like a type of philosophical concept, cosmic indifference. What the fuck is going on with the wind? It's so fucking, such a nuisance, man. I swear, the wind. Why does it have to be so fucking windy here? Anyway. We live in such a fucked up world, but not really a lot you can do about it. The worst of the worst could be happening to you. You could be getting fucking violently raped. No one's gonna come to the rescue. Always on you to look after yourself. Always encourage that, guys, that you look after yourselves. You become your own savior. Man, think about this cosmic indifference. You could be getting fucking violently raped. The worst of the worst could be happening to you, and no one's gonna care. No one's gonna come to the rescue or whatever. It's so like sad to think about this, but it's just how it is. Again, when we're young, it's like it almost feels like we're the center of the universe, the world. Everything revolves around us. But as you get older, you come to the realization that this is just all bullshit. That we're not that special. We're not that important. We're fucking worthless. Nobody really cares about us. The world doesn't care about us. The universe doesn't care about us. We're so fucking worthless in the end. It's so funny too. Everything we do is like so fucking insignificant and sad, and in the end it all becomes, we die and then nobody remembers us, and it's just, which is like even worse. It's like everything is like such a big, it's like a dark comedy, isn't it? It's like everything about our world is like a big fat dark comedy. It's like a dark comedy, isn't it? Everything about our planet is like a dark comedy. It's funny, man. It's so funny, but it's so fucked up as well. And you can't do too much about this anyway. I don't know. Cosmic indifference. You could be getting fucking molested, raped, skinned alive. Most people aren't going to care. The universe isn't going to care. The world's not going to care. We're not the center of the universe, guys. We're not that special. Especially when you're young, you feel like we are actually the center of the universe. Actually, no, we're not, guys. As you get older, you come to the realization that nobody cares about us, cares about you. Nobody gives a fuck about you. The world doesn't care about you. The universe doesn't care about you. We're not that fucking special and important. It's something that you have to come to terms with. It's like a very dark comedy. Our whole world's like a dark comedy. Always remember that. Always think about that so carefully, that everything about our world's like a dark comedy. It'll help you kind of like come to terms with how fucked up this planet is, if you start to realize that everything's like a dark comedy. Or like the poor starving kids, that's like a dark form of comedy. I don't know. I don't know if that's appropriate, actually. I don't want my video to get taken down, but cosmic indifference is such a fucking horrifying, this like form of like existential nihilism. Nihilism in general is like fucking depressing and sad, but once you realize that the universe, the world doesn't give a fuck about you, most people don't give a fuck about you, it gets even sadder and worse. It gets even sadder and worse. Once you realize that we're so fucking irrelevant, we're like bacteria, we're like ants. Fucking hell, I'm getting fucking... Hopefully I'm not... The point of this video is not to make you depressed. The point of this video is to help you guys to become a little bit more enlightened, to become your own savior, basically. Not to wait for someone else to come and rescue you, but to become your own savior. Very, very important. The video's about to end, but guys, cosmic indifference. You could be getting violently raped, molested, skinned alive, and most people aren't going to give a fuck. The universe isn't going to give a fuck. The world's not going to give a fuck. Think about this so carefully. I think really that's about it, guys. Think about this so carefully. Cosmic indifference, such an important concept to think about, and that's about it.